He implored me to undertake the unimaginable in a desperate bid to salvage our union. The truth of what transpired will render you utterly speechless. Before we embark on this journey, remember to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more captivating and astonishing tales. The room is shrouded in dimness, illuminated solely by the gentle radiance of streetlights seeping through the curtains. I find myself perched at the edge of our bed, fingers quaking as they grasp the delicate fabric of my nightgown. The atmosphere is laden with a palpable tension, one that has been simmering for years. We are now approaching a peak that neither of us can overlook. Sarah. His voice, a mere whisper, cuts through the silence with the precision of a knife. Could you assist me with a task, please? I glance at him, my husband, his expression a blend of longing and urgency. His eyes, which used to radiate warmth and familiarity, now possess a shadowy depth that sends a shiver through my very core. What is it that troubles you, Mark? My voice slips out, tinged with a blend of trepidation and acceptance. He pauses, his eyes drifting to the corner of the room where our dog, Max, rests peacefully, unaware of the tempest swirling in the air. I desire for you to share a bed with Max. I shall observe. The words linger, a grotesque plea that seems to undermine the very foundation of what we've constructed together. My heart races, pounding against my chest, as if it seeks to flee from the weight of his words. You can't be serious! I manage to utter, my voice a blend of disbelief and horror. I am, he asserts, his voice taking on a steely edge. It is a necessity for me. If you take this step, I assure you, our marriage can persist in its former state. I gaze at him, truly gaze, delving deep to find the man I wed, the man I believed I understood. Yet all that meets my gaze is an unfamiliar figure, propelled by yearnings that elude my understanding. And if I decline, I provoke, my determination solidifying. Then we're done, he states flatly, his gaze icy and resolute. The space seems to shrink, the walls encroaching as the burden of his ultimatum envelops me. As I reflect on our shared existence, the joy and affection we once cherished now seem eclipsed by this twisted expectation. All right, I murmur, the syllable lingering on my tongue like the bitterness of ash. Yet, should I proceed with this decision, the final chapter of our marriage will be written tonight. There is no way to retreat. He nods, a measured, intentional gesture, determining our destiny. I rise, my legs unsteady beneath me, and make my way to Max, who stirs awake, his tail wagging in a mix of bewilderment and joy. Behind me, I sense Mark's breath quickening, his anticipation thickening the already heavy air. The atmosphere is charged, the stage meticulously arranged for a spectacle whose repercussions remain beyond our grasp. As I extend my hand toward the door of our bedroom, the lock clicks shut, resonating with a sharpness akin to a gunshot. It makes me ponder the journey that led us to this moment. How love can morph into something utterly unrecognizable. As I stand on the brink of a line I never thought I would approach, a sense of wonder washes over me. What follows next? What unfolds when the door swings open once more, and we emerge into the ruins of what used to be our existence? The following morning, the house exudes an unfamiliar aura, a vacant husk of its former self. I traverse the rooms, my footsteps reverberating in the void, each stride a haunting echo of the previous night. The sunlight filters through the windows, its rays almost taunting, as they cast elongated shadows that stretch across the floor like silent accusations. In the kitchen, the very heart of our home, I'm reminded of the laughter we once shared over morning coffee. The silence now envelops everything, a weighty presence that resonates profoundly. I fill my cup, watching the steam dance upward in delicate spirals, yet it fails to chase away the cold that has taken residence deep within my bones. Seated at the table, my eyes wander to the vacant chair across from me, a silent reminder of Mark's presence that once filled the space. The absence hangs heavily in the air, a stark emptiness where his presence ought to reside. Thoughts swirl in my mind, looping through the moments, striving to understand how we arrived at this juncture. The phone's shrill ring pierces the silence, disrupting the flow of my thoughts. It is my sister Laura, her voice tinged with worry. Sarah, how are you managing these days? She inquires, her voice soft yet inquisitive. I'm managing, I respond, my tone devoid of emotion, concealing the chaos within. It's simply an overwhelming amount to digest. She lets out a sigh, laden with understanding. Would you like me to come over? It's not the time for solitude. I find myself hesitating. The notion of companionship, both a source of solace and a wave of anxiety. Perhaps at a later time, I finally declare, I require a moment to reflect. Once the call ended, I drifted back to the bedroom, the very place where last night's nightmare unfolded. The bed remains unmade, sheets tangled and cast aside in my hurried departure. I turn my gaze away, immersing myself in the ordinary ritual of packing. Every object I tuck into my suitcase seems to encapsulate a fragment of my existence, carefully sealed within its confines. The doorbell chimes, jolting me from my thoughts. Mark stands there, his expression a tapestry woven with threads of guilt and determination. He lingers at the threshold, hesitating to cross the boundary into the unknown. Sarah, may we have a conversation? His voice resonates with a hushed intensity, carrying an undertone of desperation. I nod, retreating slightly to allow him entry while maintaining a careful distance. In the living room, we find ourselves enveloped in a silence thick with unexpressed thoughts. I never imagined it would lead to this, he begins, his gaze averted from mine. I pondered, perhaps it held the potential to mend our fractured bond. In some way. Can we mend what's broken? My voice ascends, laced with disbelief. By shattering us in the most unfathomable manner? He gazes downward, his hands rhythmically clasping and unclasping in his lap. It may seem utterly irrational, yet I sensed a growing distance between us. I believed that if you took this step, it might bridge that gap, allowing you to perceive me from a new perspective. I gaze upon him, this man with whom I once intertwined my existence, now transformed into a mere stranger. Mark, you have broken it all apart. This is a point of no return. He nods, allowing a solitary tear to slip down his cheek. I comprehend. I wanted to convey that I never intended for things to conclude in this manner. The dialogue unfolds as a mere formality, an obligatory passage leading to the inevitable farewell. As he departs, the sound of the door shutting echoes like the last, irrevocable blow to the heart of our union. Once more in solitude, I find myself immersed in the act of packing, every object a poignant echo of a life that has slipped away. The burden of the choice looms large, the path ahead shrouded in ambiguity, yet a singular truth emerges from the haze. The existence I once embraced has come to an end. From this wreckage, I must discover a path to reconstruction. The dwelling, once a refuge, now resembles a tomb of recollections. As I pack, each item weighs heavily on my heart, a poignant reminder of the life I once believed was mine. My hands operate with a certain rhythm, folding clothes and delicately wrapping fragile items, as though in this act I might somehow encase the pain and confusion that lingers within. The stillness shatters as my phone buzzes once more, a message from my friend Emily inquiring if I require assistance. I ponder her proposal, the notion of another bearing witness to my humiliation causing me to falter. Nevertheless, the solitude is overwhelming. I respond with a straightforward, yes, please. As I await Emily's arrival, I find myself perched on the edge of the bed, the very bed where everything unraveled. A photograph on the nightstand draws my gaze. On our wedding day, Mark and I stood together, radiant with what I believed to be an unbreakable love. I lift it gently, my fingers gliding over our faces, now seeming to belong to strangers. Emily makes her entrance, her presence offering a subtle solace. Without uttering a word, she begins to assist with the packing, her actions marked by a quiet efficiency. Her empathy resonates deeply, yet she honors my desire for solitude. Sarah, would you like to discuss it? She finally inquires, her tone gentle, neither insistent nor demanding, but rather inviting. I shake my head, doubt clouding my voice. I offer her a carefully curated stack of books to pack away. In the quietude of our labor, the only symphony is the soft rustle of paper and the sporadic clink of objects finding their place in boxes. As I step into the living room, my eyes are drawn to the couch where Mark and I used to sit, his arm wrapped around me, enveloping me in a warmth that now seems like a fading memory. Emily catches my gaze and softly places her hand on my arm. At times, the most challenging aspect lies in releasing what we once believed to be true. Her words slice through my numbness, sharp and unyielding. I nod, a swell of tears rising once more. It took me completely by surprise. What could possibly compel him to pose such a question? What made him believe that would mend our relationship? Emily lets out a soft sigh, positioning herself beside me, her hand gently resting atop mine. Individuals navigate their suffering through peculiar methods. Perhaps he sought an extreme experience to disrupt the dull routine, to reignite a sense of feeling once more. Yet, that does not justify his actions. Once more, the doorbell chimes. This time, it is my sister Laura. She steps inside, a furrow of worry etched on her brow, her gaze sweeping across the disarray left in the wake of my exit. "I've brought a few of your belongings from my place," she says, gently placing a box on the table. "I figured these might be of use to you." The three of us persist in our packing, each ensnared in our own reveries. Laura's presence weaves a complex tapestry of tension, infused with the warmth of familial support, yet shadowed by an undercurrent of judgment. Her eyes betray the unspoken question, a silent inquiry she restrains from voicing. As the hours pass, the house becomes increasingly vacant, not merely of my possessions, but of the vibrant life I once imagined within these walls. As I seal each box, I sense a fragment of myself being enclosed as well. The part that cherished Mark, that dared to dream of our future together. The sun dips below the horizon, its orange hues spilling through the windows, transforming the walls into a canvas of farewell shades. As Emily and Laura departed, they exchanged a promise to reconnect the following day. Once again, I find myself alone, surrounded by boxes, the house resonating with the silence of what used to be. With a sense of anticipation, I reach for the phone and begin to dial the number of a therapist I've contemplated for months. It has come to my attention that the moment has arrived, not merely to vacate this dwelling, but to face the inner chaos that resides within me. The exchange is succinct, with a meeting arranged for the following day. As I recline on the couch, reluctant to surrender to the bed that now bears the weight of haunting memories, I find myself contemplating the events of the day. The obstacles are immense, reconstructing my existence, grasping my own identity beyond this union, and mending from the jolt of deception and disloyalty. As the night deepens, so too does my determination. With the dawn of tomorrow, I embark on a fresh journey. Not merely a change of residence, but a profound revelation of my own identity. The path that lies before me is intimidating, laden with challenges that remain hidden from my view. Yet one truth remains undeniable. This will not be the measure of my identity. In the midst of the ruins, I shall discover my strength. From this, I shall ascend. The atmosphere in the room has taken on a chill. The day's warmth faded gently as the sun dipped below the horizon. In this solitude, I find myself surrounded by the remnants of a home that once resonated with joy and warmth. The boxes encircle me, silent witnesses to the disintegration of my existence. Each a testament to the decisions taken, the boundaries breached. The silence hangs thick in the air, an oppressive shroud that stifles any flicker of tranquility. I lift the photograph once more, gazing at the versions of us that were younger and filled with joy. The image fades into a haze as tears well up in my eyes, mourning not only the absence of Mark, but also the disappearance of the person I once was before the events of last night. The stillness is shattered by the sudden buzz of my phone. A note from my therapist, affirming our appointment for tomorrow. To seek help, to acknowledge my need for it, feels akin to a surrender, yet it also represents a pivotal step towards reclaiming a part of myself. I set the phone aside, my eyes wandering to the window, where the night sky unfolds like a canvas painted in deep blues and purples, with stars faintly glimmering amidst the glow of the city lights. In this moment of stillness, the gravity of my choice to part ways with Mark settles upon me. It's not merely the act of departure that weighs heavily, but the realization that I have ventured into uncharted territory, a realm where I must chart my own course. The chime of the doorbell cuts through my reverie, jolting me back to reality. The hour is late, and I find myself not anticipating any visitors. With a sense of trepidation, I draw near the door, my heart racing, caught in a whirlwind of fear and intrigue. As I open the door, a small, unassuming envelope greets me on the doorstep. No return address, merely my name inscribed in a well-known hand. The script of Mark. My hands tremble as I lift it, the paper pulsating with an electric energy in my hold. Within the confines of the kitchen, I find myself seated at the table that has borne witness to innumerable shared meals, the very spot where he once knelt and proposed to me. The envelope appears to thrum with unvoiced sentiments. Taking a moment to steady myself, I gently pry it open, revealing a letter within. Sarah, I understand that words cannot erase the past, nor can they mend the pain I have inflicted. Last night, I indulged in a viewing that I believed would rekindle our connection, yet it ultimately unraveled the very fabric of our bond. I have come to understand the profound extent of my failures, how my own convoluted desires have brought us to this juncture. I seek not your forgiveness, for I understand that the time may not yet be ripe, if it ever will be. However, I wish to convey that I am in pursuit of assistance. I have scheduled a session with a therapist, not solely for our relationship, but for my own well-being. I seek to unravel the reasons behind my belief that this was the answer, and why I allowed us to drift so far apart. You are worthy of so much more, Sarah. That truth has always been evident. In due course, I trust you will discover tranquility, even if it means doing so in my absence. Mark. The letter slips from my grasp, dancing lightly as it descends to the table. The words intertwine, evoking both a sense of relief and a resurgence of pain. His recognition of his need for help seems like a modest triumph, yet it is eclipsed by the stark truth that our marriage has come to an end. The night unfolds endlessly, and in its embrace, my determination solidifies. This letter transcends mere farewell. It embodies Mark's final words. It belongs to me as well. This marks a departure from what once was, igniting the flame of my personal quest for healing and self-discovery. I rise, traversing the rooms of the house with a renewed sense of intention. In every room I step into, I perceive not merely the remnants of what has been lost, but the potential of what might yet unfold. The living room, a space where we once twirled to our melody, holds the promise of fresh starts. The kitchen, a space where we shared the art of cooking, became the very place I discovered the joy of preparing meals for myself. Clutching the letter, I approach the fireplace, its cold hearth a poignant reminder of the warmth it once offered. I ignite a match, observing the way the flame embraces the edge of the paper. The flames devour the words, the ink twisting and darkening, transforming Mark's confession into mere ashes. As the final remnants of the letter turn to ash, a spark ignites deep within me, awakening a fire that had long been dormant, a flicker of resolve, a will to endure. The house, once a mere mausoleum with its vacant rooms and haunting silence, has transformed into a canvas of new beginnings. I settle back onto the couch, draping a blanket around myself, seeking not only warmth but a sense of solace. The night stretches endlessly before us. The shadows beyond serve as a mirror to the chaos that brews inside. Yet, as I shut my eyes, I find myself not merely slipping into slumber. I am embarking on a fresh journey, a realm in which I shape the story. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing, liking, and sharing your thoughts in the comments. This will enable us to craft more captivating narratives for you.